This is actually going to be the last video of our grammar for the year. Now, I did not have you first semester, so I'm not sure how diagramming sentences was explained to you. I suppose I should just take a minute to tell you that the reason we diagram sentences is that it makes sentence analysis easier. It is a kind of shorthand, if you will. Think about it. It's easier just to draw a few lines to show how the words in a sentence are related to one another than it would be to write out every single word and then write out a little phrase after that word saying, this word is the subject, this word is the verb, this word modifies the subject, this word is the preposition, this word is the object of the preposition, and so on. So that is why we diagram. Also, you may find when you get to college, you take other courses, particularly if you take language courses, and maybe even in graduate school, you might find yourself diagramming sentences again. And even on your own, you might find it helpful sometimes when you're reading poetry or something to, let's analyze this. Okay, what really is the subject of the sentence, and so on. So, anyway, just a little maybe explanation why we do diagramming sentences. It really ultimately makes your job and my job a little bit easier. So, today, I want to take a look at diagramming noun clauses. We've diagrammed compound sentences. We've diagrammed adjective clauses and adverb clauses. So the last thing we need to take a look at are noun clauses. Remember, a noun clause is a subordinate clause acting as a noun. It can come in any part of the clause that could take a noun. So it could be the subject, could be direct object, predicate nominative, indirect object, object of preposition, object complement, and a positive. So, nouns function 8 different ways in a sentence. Noun clauses can function 8 different ways in a sentence. Also remember that noun phrases, like gerund phrases and noun infinitive phrases, are placed on a noun stand. Remember that? Remember how, we made a little stand like that in the noun position and then put the phrase on top of that stand? Well, we do the same thing with noun clauses. The noun clause is placed on a noun stand in the position of the sentence where it would be functioning. And the verb of the noun clause always goes directly over the noun stand. Of course, clauses always have verbs, unless maybe it's an elliptical clause, but elliptical clauses are adverbs, not nouns anyhow. The verb of the noun always goes directly over the noun stand. So if we had a noun clause here, then the verb would be what goes over the noun stand, or maybe what you say, what balances on the noun stand, or the if they call the noun stand the fulcrum and the clause line the lever, or something like that, however you want to look at it. Okay, so here we go. Here's a sentence. Salvation is what people need. You might remember this. Okay, what people need is our noun clause. Here it is the predicate nominative. So, is the main verb. Salvation is the subject. Okay, what people need is predicate nominative, so we have the angled line like that. And then, in that position, because it's a clause, we put the noun stand with the clause over it. Okay, need is the verb, people is the subject, and what, in this case, is the direct object. It's the relative pronoun, but it's also the direct object, so we put it in the direct object position. Okay. There you go. Okay, here's another one. God saw that it was good. Now, in this case, the relative pronoun, or subordinated conjunction, has no function in the clause. That is the relative pronoun. It introduces the subordinate clause to us, but it doesn't have a function in the clause itself. Was is the verb, it is the subject, good is the predicate adjective. That just introduces it. So in that case, then it goes along the vertical line of the noun stand. So, okay, God saw that it was good is the noun clause. In this case, it's the direct object, because saw is an action verb. God saw what? That it was good. Answers the question what, so it's a noun. So, saw is the verb. God is the subject. And the noun clause is the direct object, so we put the noun stand in the direct object position. Okay, put the verb over the noun stand. It is the subject. Good is the predicate adjective. And then that goes on the vertical portion of the noun stand. So if you had a relative pronoun or a subordinating conjunction that has no function in the clause. Remember, in this case, what also functions in the clause. It's the direct object in the clause. But here, that doesn't do it. It introduces the clause, but that's all it does. Then it would go on the vertical part of the noun stand. Okay. Sometimes noun clauses can be appositives. Okay, Simon, whom Jesus called Peter, denied Jesus 3 times. So the main clause, verb is denied. Simon is the subject. I'm going to make sure we leave room for the appositive. Okay. Jesus is the direct object. Okay, 3 times. Times, again, is one of those adverbial nouns. So, oops, I'm sorry, wrong word. I said times, but then I wrote the wrong word. Okay. Times, one of those adverbial nouns. 3 modifies times. Okay, so Simon denied Jesus 3 times. That's the main clause. Okay, whom Jesus called Peter is a subordinate clause, but here it's a positive. Okay, it's following Simon and telling us a little bit more about Simon. So, and of course the positives go in parentheses, so in this case we put the noun stand in the parentheses. And the verb is called. Jesus is the subject. Okay, Jesus called him Peter, so whom is acting as the direct object. And then Peter is the object complement. Okay. So see this? If there's an appositive, put the noun stand between the parentheses of the appositive, and that shows us that this noun clause is the appositive. Okay. A lot of people were mistaken about what Messiah would do. In this case, the noun clause is what Messiah would do, and in this case, it is the object of the preposition about. A lot of people were mistaken about what? Mistaken about the Yankees or something? No, mistaken about what Messiah would do. Okay? So, once again, we diagram the main clause first. Okay, the verb is were mistaken. Okay. Subject is, and remember this one's a little tricky, but remember, watch out for those ofs. When you see ofs in the subject, you know that what follows it is not the subject, but the object of the preposition. So the subject is actually lot. A modifies lot, and then of people is the, I'm shorten that just a bit. Of people is the prepositional phrase that also modifies lot. Okay, a lot of people were mistaken, and then a prepositional phrase about what Messiah would do. Okay, so again we write preposition throughout the line for the object or preposition, and then the noun stand. Okay, would do is the verb, Messiah is the subject, and then what is the relative pronoun, but here it's also the direct object, would do what. So the relative pronoun goes in the direct object position. So here we have a case where the noun clause is the object of the preposition. Okay. Peter said Jesus was the Son of God. Okay. In this case, notice we have no relative pronoun. When we say that, a lot of times we drop the that. We could say Peter said that Jesus was the Son of God, but a lot of times in everyday speech we drop the that. But Jesus was the Son of God is still the noun clause. Okay, it answers the question what. Peter said what? Peter said hallelujah? No, Peter said Jesus was the Son of God. Okay, so this noun clause is the direct object. So the main clause is very simple. Since the verb is said, the noun is Peter, and then Jesus was the Son of God is the direct object. Okay, so we put the noun stand in the direct object position, verb over the noun stand, subject is was, subject is Jesus, verb was. Okay, was, okay, linking verb, so we have predicate nominative, Son, and then the modifies Son, and of God is the prepositional phrase that modifies Son. Okay. In this case, you don't write anything because the relative pronoun has been dropped. We could say, Peter said that Jesus was the Son of God. In that case, we would write the that on the vertical, as we saw before. Here we have a case. You might remember this from previous lesson. Here, this is the subject. This noun clause is the subject. What Jesus offered cannot be bought with money. Okay, so the verb of the main clause is can be bought. Lest we get confused, I'm going to write the not right under the can right now so we don't forget it. But the not, really, if you think about it, is a modifier. It's not part of the verb. Okay, and then the subject is the clause. So in the subject position, we put the noun stand. Subject, the verb is offers. Subject is Jesus. And what, once again, is the relative pronoun. Jesus offers what? So we put that in the relative pronoun position. And then with money also modifies bought. It's a prepositional phrase. All right. So this is an example of when a noun clause is the subject of the sentence. Now, if you think about it, we will often have several clauses in a single sentence. Okay, to protect themselves, most people said they saw nothing when the man was shot. Okay, I guess I'm watching too many cop shows or something, huh? Okay, the main clause is most people said. They saw nothing is the direct object. They saw people said what? They said they saw nothing. Okay? Again, we could have the word that. By the way I wrote the sentence, I did not include the word that. Okay, and then when the man was shot, what's that? Ooh, an adverb clause. Okay, so I'll put 2 lines under that. That's an adverb clause. So we have a noun clause and an adverb clause. Okay. And then what's to protect themselves? Remember that from last unit? Okay, to protect themselves is an infinitive phrase. Okay, and that, like most phrases that begin a sentence, that is adverbial, modifies the verb. Okay, why did they say that? Answers the question why. Why did they say that? To protect themselves. Okay, so actually the main clause is pretty simple. Verb is said. Subject is people. Okay, and most modifies people. All right. Complement, yes. Direct object, they saw nothing. So in the direct object position, we put this clause, the noun clause. Okay, saw is the verb, they is the subject, nothing is the direct object. They saw what? Nothing. Okay, so that's the noun clause. When the man was shot is the adverb clause. Okay, put that down and maybe a little bit to the right so we have enough room for that infinitive phrase. Okay, when the man was shot. Okay, was shot is the verb, man is the subject, the modifies man, and then remember, okay, when the man was shot, actually really modifies the saw in the clause. You might make a case that it modifies said, but it really, if you think about it, they saw nothing when the man was shot. I mean, that was when the issue of seeing was. So we go from the verb being modified to draw a dotted line to the verb in the adverb clause, and then we write the subordinating conjunction when on the dotted line. Okay, remember that? Okay, so there's the adverb clause, and then to protect themselves is what people said. Not, it doesn't modify saw, but it modifies said. It's infinitive phrase, but it's an adverbial infinitive phrase, so so it goes under the word. It modifies to protect, and then themselves is the direct object of the infinitive protect. So we extend the line out there and write the direct object with the vertical line. Okay. If you think about it now, you should be able to diagram just about any sentence, regardless of how it's formed, regardless of the kind of phrases, the kind of clauses, or anything that it has in it. So, this year, you have learned everything you need to know to be able to analyze any part of speech or any sentence in English. You should also be able to diagram any sentence in English. Hint, hint. Romeo and Juliet. Ooh, a challenge. You have learned the 8 parts of speech: the noun, pronoun, verb, adjective, adverb, preposition, conjunction, and interjection. Those are the 8 parts of speech we have in English. You've also learned all the sentence parts: the predicate, the subject, the simple predicate, sometimes called the verb, the simple subject, complements, phrases, and clauses. You've also learned interjections, direct addresses, and idiomatic expressions. You've learned the various kinds of complements: direct object, indirect object, predicate nominative, predicate adjective, and object complement. Yeah. Oh yeah, I've really learned a lot this year, haven't I? You've learned the various phrases: the prepositional phrase, participial phrase, gerund phrase, infinitive phrase, appositive, and the nominative absolute. And you know how to diagram them all. And you've learned the various sentence types and the various clauses. You've learned simple sentence, compound sentence, complex sentence, compound complex sentence, and you can diagram them all. You've learned independent clause, subordinate clause, adjective clause, adverb clause, and noun clause. And again, you can diagram them all. That's a pretty good accomplishment for the year. And also, remember these things, not just for English class and when you're reading, you come across a sentence or a poem or something you don't understand, you can begin to say, okay, let's find, okay, I don't understand this. What is the subject? What is the verb? What is the complement? And, you can figure out what it means. Also, it comes in handy big time when you're studying foreign languages. Congratulations! You've had quite an accomplishment this year, and God bless you.